Were you actually disappointed that you didn't win?
Oh my God.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, you just gave me goosebumps all through my body.
I'm sorry. How are you?
Hello. I'm so happy to be here on the queue.
It's so nice to have you here, and welcome back to Canada.
Thank you. It's so nice to be home.
How have the shows been going? You said 37 in the
cities around the U.S., and it's been absolutely amazing. I'm living the dream. I have my tour bus, and I get to, tour around and meet all my incredible fans and entertain and make people laugh.
What are the shows like?
The shows are really full. There's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of fans from Drag Race and people kind of coming with an expectation that they're going to see some things that they're familiar with, but also knowing that they're in for a bit of a surprise and a twist. So
I kind of want to ask what people are going to expect, but I don't know. Is that going to give too much away?
Well, people can expect to laugh for sure. That's my goal at the end of the day. As always, I want to spread joy, make people laugh, but I also want to leave people confused and also going like, what the hell is going on? What am I watching here? And so I love that. Clowning for me is all about all the feelings. So I want people to feel a bit afraid and a bit confused and laugh and cry. So I want it all.
Well, I want to talk about that because I think I kind of want to talk about perceptions of clowning and what clowning actually is. But I think it's worth starting out talking a little bit about your origin story here. Yeah. So when you grew up in London, Ontario?
Yeah.
Were clowns part of your life? Were you afraid of clowns as a kid? Like anything like that?
I had an auntie, like a family friend that was my Auntie Lynn. She did clowning and she introduced me to clown. And my little brother Jeff actually was a clown before I was. So
when you say they were a clown, what do you mean?
They were clowning. So that's where you wear the clothes and the garb and the makeup associated with what you would imagine a clown would be. And then at that time, they were going to fringe festivals and birthday parties and kind of entertaining people. And so that was sort of, my peripheral exposure at a young age was that sort of birthday clown, sort of hospital clown kind of thing.
Were you watching them and going like, that's something I want to do?
No, not at the time. It wasn't anything that I understood at the time. I'm not really that style of clown. That's more of the classic sort of birthday clown, like Shriner clown at the hospital or whatever.
Yeah.
The clowning is, as I came to find out when I moved out west and started working in theater and doing my clown course and training, is more about an understanding between a performer and the audience and your relationship with the audience.
Let's unpack that for a second. But if you're cool with that, let's talk about how you ended up going out west in the first place. What drew you out to BC?
I had fallen in love. There's a band on the West Coast, Hank and Lily, and they toured through with another friend of mine, Carolyn Mark.
I love Carolyn Mark. I know Carolyn. Yeah.
Canadian legend.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And
oh, cool. Right on.
Yeah, she's probably been on the show.
Yeah.
And
I love country music and folk music and all that stuff. So great. I love Carolyn. That's great.
So Carolyn is actually the first person to ever call me out. Back when I was a little busboy at the Starlight, Carolyn came, she toured through, and she said, I want to shout out that busboy there, James. I went by James then. And he's really special. And that was like the first kind of moment I had someone really see me in that way and call me out. And I ended up going back, and kind of every time she would come, I would visit her and go to see her show. And she ended up bringing through Hank and Lily on one of her hootenannies. And Hank and I fell in love, and I ended up moving out west to be with Hank.
And you started studying out there? Or?
And then I had graduated from Western at that time, and I had finished some schooling overseas in Stockholm and a field course in Uganda.
This is biology.
So biology related.
So the path was, if you don't mind me asking, to be a
biologist. Science, I wanted to do some sort of work in the developing world, doing medical aid of some kind, some sort of medical anthropology or something working to help people through science. That's what I wanted to do. And then I ended up meeting Carolyn and Hank and ended up moving out to the West Coast and fully diving into theater out there with Atomic Vaudeville. And that's where I took my first clown course. And that's where I kind of left behind my science and moved on to being creative.
Tell me a little bit about the clown world that you discovered out there.
Well, clowning, as there's a whole bunch of different methods of clowning, and there's a whole bunch of different schools of clowning, and you generally have a clown teacher, and there's a few greats around the world that have their different modes and methods of clowning. And so when I do my Casper the Bologna Ghost clown, that's a style of clowning called bouffant clowning, which is all about sort of distorting the body and kind of, it's sometimes dark or grotesque and kind of counter or opposite to what you might imagine a typical clown would be like. And so clowning is actually, an ancient art form. It was practiced like by all kinds of people way back in native cultures and cultures around the world. Clowns were kind of in the same status as, the priest or kind of a higher up social status, because they were sort of a mirror for society to be able to make fun of all of those things in humanity, people in power and things that you typically wouldn't be allowed to make fun of. The clown or the jester in medieval times was given the pass to make fun of the royals or to make fun of those things happening in society, which you have to kind of look at and laugh. So clowns are kind of special, and they've been around forever.
Yeah, I know about like Harlequin clowning. I know about rodeo clowning.
Like Pachinko clowning.
And Canadian First Nations clowning as well, like Canadian Indigenous clowning as well. What I'm really interested in was what you found in that community, what you found in that art form, what you.
So I wanted to be on stage, but I was really held back by this idea that you really need to rehearse something, whatever you're going to perform. You need to decide ahead of time, this is what's funny. You need to write it down. Then you need to read it a bunch of times until you know it. And then you go and perform it. And that whole process was really daunting to me. How do you write all these jokes? And how do you know if they're funny? And, will the people laugh and all those things? So it was sort of a barrier for me. And clowning says, put all that aside. You just come and be you and deal with what's happening for real. And so you act and respond in the moment, and you are a conduit for energy to flow through you, and you listened to whoever's watching. You have to have an audience as a clown. There has to be at least one person telling you that they're enjoying what you're doing. And then you listen to your audience, and it's a circle. And so you do something until it works. And when it works, you do it again because the people like it, and you kind of push that button and go places. And clowns, also the idea is to go with your worst idea. We're sort of taught to sort of judge ourselves and to sort of second guess our ideas or intentions. And clowning is all about just go with it. Don't second guess it. Don't think it. Just do it, feel it, share it, and move on. And that's what I love.
How did you feel in some of those early performances when you were doing clown?
It's so freeing. It's so exciting.
This is in BC. You were doing these.
Yeah, I was in my clown workshops, and it's so exciting to clowning is about more, and it's about pushing past. Sometimes pushing past where you would typically stop, and it's about going bigger and going. You can tell when your audience is going, oh, they're not going to do that. Oh my, they're going to do it. Oh, they're doing it. Oh my, and then they explode in laughter because it's so shocking or funny or and that's the role of the clown is to kind of go all those places where you want people to go, but maybe you wouldn't necessarily go yourself.
What was the drag scene like in Victoria at the time?
I have no idea. What was the drag scene like? Probably fun and small. It's like DIY. It's an island. So it's an island of weirdos and artists.
Yeah.
And so we all just make fun out. We just have parties and we make little theaters. And if it's a whole bunch of weirdos making fun for each other. So.
Well, do you remember the first time you performed as a drag artist? Do you remember the...
Yeah, the first time I did a clown turn in drag was a character of my evil ex-stepmother. So I embodied her and kind of exorcised her demon from my psyche in this wild clown turn that was, left people crying and laughing and shocked. It was a good one.
It must have felt all right.
It was wild. It was a crazy one. When I show pictures from that one, people are like, holy fuck. Whoa. That's some darkness. So we don't look at those pictures.
Right, I understand. But it feels like you found a real magic form of expression there to combine drag and clown. It feels like you must have felt that way. That
Yeah, and I think a lot of drag performers are clowns and they don't even know it. It's
Yeah.
like, without formal training, there's clowns in all of us. Everyone has a clown in them. It's just whether or not you let it come out or not.
Can we talk about the first season of Canada's Drag Race?
Yeah.
So you're big. You were performing up to that point in drag and clowning, and you were doing gigs.
Yeah.
But we can say the first big break was Canada's Drag Race.
Yeah. I was performing with a vaudeville troupe, Atomic Vaudeville in Victoria.
Yeah.
So I performed in talent shows mostly. I wasn't really a part of the Victoria drag scene in a typical sense, where I didn't really have a home bar. I didn't really have a drag family. I didn't go out and perform in bars or on stages. I never did that. I never would put on a song or like a Lady Gaga song on lip sync. I've never done that. So I always started in theater and in private parties and in sort of more performance art, like in an art gallery or in a weird space or in a part of a variety show. So when I went on Canada's Drag Race, I was pretty, I was performing maybe like once every few months or something. And certainly not in bars every night or anything like that.
So when you go on Canada's Drag Race, and forgive me my cursory knowledge of drag, are you coming into that going, all right, so I'm sort of outside of that scene. I'm a vaudeville performer. I'm doing more things from the performance art side of things. What I'm going into here on Drag Race is a little bit more traditional. It's a little bit more,
I think I came to find out about that. I was pretty removed. I had no idea what to expect. I didn't know any other drag queens. I only had one other drag queen friend in Victoria named Vivian Vanderpuss, who was later on season 3, I think. And, she kind of right before I went on Drag Race, I was like, how do I do a cut crease? Which is like the most basic thing of a drag queen.
Yeah.
So I was like, can you show me how to do a cut crease? And if you look on Canada's Drag Race, I was still trying to figure out how to do it on that show when I was doing it. So I went to Drag Race and I saw all my girls going, oh my God, what's that? And they're like, this is drag jewelry. I'm like, I've never seen jewels that big. And they're like, oh,
interesting.
You have to go and find a drag race. You have to go find a drag jeweler. And I was like, what are these? These are called nails. But my partner did send me with a whole bunch of nails he had painted called the Nail-A-Dex, which was so sweet. But there was a whole bunch of stuff that I learned there.
You had to play catch up on.
Yeah.
I saw your elimination scene from Canada's Drag Race. I mean, like that was almost better than winning.
Right.
Can you tell people what it?
Yeah, I had, growing up, you see in those movies, there's always that moment where you're so forlorn and something so tragic has happened, your village is burned or whatever. So you need to fall to your knees and scream, why, at the sky. And, you only save that for the worst things, really. And up to that point in my life, that was the moment. This was my fall to my knees and scream, why at the sky? My dreams. What about my dreams? So yeah, I did that. I fell to my knees. I screamed why as hard as I could, and then fell flat on my face. And then they were all like, we love you, Jimbo. And I was like, fuck you. And then I crawled out on my hands and knees, slithered off the stage. Yeah, I still remember that.
Were you actually disappointed that you didn't win?
Oh, my God.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, you just gave me goosebumps all through my body.
I'm sorry.
At that moment, I'm so glad now, but sure. Yeah, at that time, I was going into the finale. I wanted to be top 3, and it was a design challenge, and I am a costume designer, so.
Oh, yeah, so it was extra.
It was, yeah.
You said you're happy now you didn't win?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I got to go and compete in All Stars in the UK, and then I got to go and compete on All Stars in the US.
Yeah.
And I won like 3 times the money that you win in Canada, so.
That's the most legit Canadian answer to that question I've ever heard in my life, I make a lot more money winning.
Way more money, babe. Way more money, babe.
I got a hard question for you. So you go on to compete in, as you mentioned, Drag Race UK versus the world, and then you win Drag Race All Stars.
Yeah.
The first non-American queen to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that, by the way. Yeah, that's right.
That's right. That's right, baby. And I'm also the first queen to compete in 3 different franchises in 3 different countries.
What do you attribute your success to? That's the hard question.
Why do I trip? My fans. It's the fans around the world.
But what is it about you? What is it about you that wins this?
What is it about me?
And your work?
So I'd say the world is filled with weirdos, unseen, beautiful weirdos that are out there working their ass off, trying to have a good time, trying to have love, trying to be free. And when they see someone doing it, it's exciting. And so I have fans and weirdos and beautiful people all around the world that when I won and when I've toured now, they said, I won with you. I felt that. And I said, I felt it at that moment. I felt around the world a collective excitement. I knew that there was bars around the country and around the world of groups of people screaming because they had wanted it for me so badly. And I felt it. And it is so beautiful. I love it. I love meeting my fans and my people that are still saying, I'm so happy you won. I've been waiting. And yeah, it just feels like a shared win.
I love that so much. You know, this idea of being a weirdo within that scene, like a weirdo within drag, right? Because
a weirdos within all the weirdos. Because that's deep weird.
How does it feel when you make RuPaul laugh? You're the contestant that has made RuPaul laugh more than any other contestant. What does it feel like in the moment when Ru's laughing?
It's the best. It's like hitting the jackpot when you're at the casino and you're like ding 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 ding. And it's so much fun. And I also love to surprise people and shock people. So it's a dream making Ru laugh.
Can I surprise you with something?
What is it? You're going to take your pants down? No, I'm just kidding.
This is the radio.
Oh, yeah, this
is the radio. So, yes. Before you did, through the theater of radio, yes. Before all this Drag Race fame, you mentioned you were working as a costume designer.
Yeah.
Is it true you worked on Air Bud, the Air Bud movies, the dog playing sports?
I did.
Can you tell me about that?
So it was from the makers of Air Bud, and they.
What can you tell me about making the costumes for the dogs?
Well, it was so fun and surreal because the dog is the client, and they have to be a professional.
Yeah.
And it's a puppy, a professional puppy from LA that's an actor that's flown and lives in a mansion. And so
what? Hold on. What?
I know.
Say that again.
The dogs live in a mansion, in a dog mansion. So when I would go for my fittings,
what are you talking about? The dogs live in? They get the dogs a nice house.
A huge mansion. Yeah.
For Air Bud, for these Air Bud movies.
For all the dogs to live in this mansion.
Okay, so
the trainers.
So you'd pull up to this mansion.
So I would pull up to this mansion, go through the gates. You have to be really careful because you don't want to let the dogs out. Obviously, they're stars.
Because the Baja men are right there waiting, asking the question, who let the dogs out? Anyway, that's fine. Right.
And so I would pull up, and then they have to keep the dogs in each room. And so they have to be separate. Obviously, they'll go crazy. So when you pull up to the house, all the dogs run to the window, as dogs do. And then in each window was a different kind of dog. There's a poodle. There's a tiny little teacup terrier. There's a Dachshund. There's a freaking sloppy face one, whatever that one's called.
Like a bulldog or something like that. Yeah, real drooly ones. Yeah, right. Yeah.
So they were in all the windows, and then they would call each one down, and then they would be with their trainer. They would be very professional. I would say hello, and they'd get on their little box, and I'd measure them. They'd try on their clothes.
You measure the dogs?
Oh, yeah. You go to measure them, measure their legs, and then they would try on the outfit.
Would you have made these little dog outfits?
Yeah, we had made them. I was working with designer Ken at the time, Ken Shapkin. He's a good friend of mine. He's actually the head designer that we worked with. And so, yeah, we would get the clothes out. Then we would try them on the dog. And then every now and again, we'd all break. And we'd just say, like, oh, you're so cute. And,
you were trying to hold it in and be professional.
We have to be so professional. And they'd be like, okay, stop. Everyone back. Because it's like an absolute puppy, like an absolute baby puppy. But you have to pretend like you're at work and it's not for playing. And you're like, that's right, you're an actor. And I'm going to be professional.
I just love that so much. I love that you're trying to hold it together.
We all did.
And then every now and then you just all have a moment where you go.
Yeah, every now and then you go crazy. Like when there was one that was a little Pomeranian.
Yeah.
And we would dress her like a little cheerleader. Or actually, it was a him. It was a him.
Mm-hmm.
In a little girl cheerleader outfit. And then I guess he was in drag now that I think about it. Wow, I'm that dog's drag mother. I didn't even know it. But yeah, she was so cute. Little pom-poms on her feet and his feet. And yeah.
I think the quote of the interview for me so far is, I was that dog's drag mother and I didn't even know it. There's another thing I wanted to ask you about Drag Race, which involves a big part of my culture growing up.
Ooh.
Growing up in Newfoundland and Labrador, where I'm from,
Yes.
we ate a lot of, and we pronounced it Bologna.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of Bologna. We would buy the big stick
Ooh.
at the store.
Oh, the big jumbo.
The big jumbo, the big stick, and we would slice it off ourselves thick
Wow.
and fry it in the pan.
Choose your own adventure.
Fry it in the pan with like eggs and beans.
Right.
And I love it.
Classic.
It's my favorite.
Yeah, it's very tasty. I wish I had some right now.
Well, here's your
whack
second
you with
surprise. Here's your second
Oh,
surprise.
you got some?
No, I don't.
Oh,
We can't-
drop it on
We
me.
can't afford it.
Oh, damn.
It's hard times. Tell me about how, but for people who don't know, Bologna or Bologna has become your signature prop at this point. Tell me how that came about.
Well, I love bologna because it is shiny, tasty, durable. It makes a
durable,
great hat.
You're right.
It throws like a frisbee.
Yeah.
You can use it to moisten your lips if they're dry.
Bologna.
Yeah.
I didn't. It's like
You
a
can-
chapstick.
Yeah.
Who knew?
You can place it over your eyes if they're tired.
Like a cucumber.
Yeah.
How about that?
You know, kind of like being a clown is kind of doing all those things that you're not supposed to do. And one of them is playing with food. And so growing up, you know, we weren't really supposed to play with food. And my dad would buy this bologna. He also brought this like mac and cheese loaf. Did you ever see that?
Yeah, I've seen that. I've never had
too
any
far
of
for
it.
you?
Yeah,
I
it's
saw
too
your
far
face,
for
you
me.
shuddered.
Yeah, that's a little gross for
But
me.
yeah, so you would shave off this mac and cheese loaf. And my brother and I were just like revolted by this. So it was kind of this peripheral food thing for me that was always kind of more of a thing. And I don't know how it ended up in me, but one day it just came out and I threw it and it was, the rest is history.
Can you unpack for people who don't know how you use bologna in your?
So I do a routine called Casper the Bologna Ghost, which was my twisted version of Casper for a vaudeville skit I did years ago. And I sewed this white latex suit and then in the belly, I put a zipper so that when you unzip the belly and I open my legs, a big hunk of bologna drops out on the stage, smack. And then I'll peel it and throw it and feed people and smack people and toss it like a frisbee.
And people bring bologna to your shows now, right?
Yeah, people bring bologna to the show. I had someone come up with 2 pieces of bread and some mustard already on the bread, and I threw the bologna into the sandwich. They closed it and hit the road.
Did they eat it?
Yeah, they were off to work to start their day, I guess.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. Where do you want to go from here? I mean, this is a really amazing point you're at in your career right now. You're selling out shows. You're touring on 2 buses with a big trailer. You're like Nickelback, and
Not Nickelback. I thought you were gonna say Beyonce.
you're like Beyonce.
There we go.
And Nickelback.
Nickelback.
Where do you want to go from here?
Basically, I am so grateful and in love with performing and being on the road. I'm a little chaos demon and I love adventure and I love people. So my dream is to keep touring, keep doing shows. I would love to have a show on Broadway. I would love to have like a residency in Vegas. I would love to have my own sketch comedy show, kind of like a Pee Wee Herman / Monty Python / Saturday Night Live, kind of some crazy thing where I could be a wacko and invite my friends and create a world. I'm also a set designer and I love creating events for people. I love the feeling of fully immersing someone and performing for them as well. So there's something really cool about your own show, and like I'm doing with Jimbo's Drag Circus, where I went to my friend Marshall and we designed the set, and it kind of, and then we also wrote the music with my friend Andrew. So audibly, we're inviting you in. Visually, we're inviting you in. Then I'm trying to make you laugh and get inside your emotion in your head by, with the story and all that. So I just want to keep doing that, keep storytelling and keep creating vibes.
It's so cool what you're doing. Like, I think it's so amazing. What I mean by that is I'm not just saying, like, I don't mean drag. I mean, like, what's so cool that you're doing is that the story that I'm hearing, if I'm right about this, and I think I am, is that you're coming out of this performance art, weirdo, outsider performance art scene in BC, learning about actual clown, connection between audience, pushing boundaries, and bringing that to this art form, bringing that to drag, and doing something new with it. It's so cool to see.
It's so
cool.
crazy.
It's so cool to see.
It's so exciting, and
It's so crazy, you said.
It's crazy. And I've also, before, as a set designer and costume designer and working in production, I dreamed for so long. I was the person holding the people's coats. I was the person shining the shoes and, fetching the coffee.
Sewing the dogs' outfits.
Sewing the dogs' outfits and all that stuff. And I was dreaming at that time, like maybe one day I'll have a dressing room. Maybe one day someone will get me a coffee. Maybe one day we'll work on my story, or I'll get to hire my own friends or whatever. And I actually got to do that. And now I've gone out into the world, and what people are saying is it's blowing their expectations of drag and shows and things like that, because I'm able to sort of bring this next level vibe based on all my past. And that's just everything to me. That's what I love.
I love it. And Canadian.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
How are you feeling? A hometown show coming up. The last stop of the tour is in Victoria, BC.
I can't wait.
How does that? Nervous, excited, both?
So excited, so excited. There's nothing like going back to the people that have been rooting for you and cheering for you and believing in you ever since the very, 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 very start. So a lot of my fans and friends, got to see little pieces and, whispers of all of this, these characters and this energy and this vibe from my beginning. And so it's so cool for them to see it all with all the bells and the whistles and the full vision, the full production that we had talked about for so long.
I got such admiration for you. I think it's really amazing what you've done. I think it's such a great Canadian story, and I think I'm so happy so many Canadians are so proud of you.
Oh, it's a dream.
Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me. I love it on here. It's so nice. We could just do this all day.
Stick around. We'll get a little cot. We'll hang out. We'll get some Bologna. It'll be all right.